Welcome to episode 20 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my good mate Craig. And Craig, what would you say if I told you I've been keeping secrets from you?
I'm not surprised, man, but yeah. Should I be surprised?
No, that's okay.
No?
You play the music and I'll tell you what they are. Thank you, as always, to our regular podcast sponsors for their support. Topo Maps Plus, a phone application that allows you to view topographical maps and track your location even without cell phone coverage. Go deeper into the backcountry. Rios floating polarized sunglasses with 100% UV protection for the love of water. Bluey Merino, Australian superfine merino wool base, mid and top layer garments. Where our story ends, yours is just beginning. Caribbee, one of Australia's leading backpack, travel and outdoor brands. They supply us with dry bags, waterproof day packs and expedition bags. Supporting our sponsors allows us to continue to produce this podcast, so please jump online and check out what they have to offer. Welcome everybody to episode 20. Craig, we made, we didn't just make double digits, but we made, 20.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 20 is a big number for us. That's good, man.
Yeah. It's not the episode we had planned, but we'll get to that in a minute. Hey, what I wanted to say was I've been accumulating all of these kind of interesting news stories literally for months and months and months. And because we don't want every episode to be 5 hours long, I just kind of pick the best and cull the rest and kind of do that. But an interesting thing happened today. So we did mention on the last podcast that we had secured Claire Dunn, author of My Year Without Matches, as a guest for the podcast. And that is 100% true. But when I was speaking to her today over text, she had a bit of a cold and, was definitely not in a place to be talking on a podcast for a couple of hours. So we've secured another record date in the coming weeks, so we still plan on getting that to you before the end of the year. But what it opened up was an opportunity for us either to cancel recording tonight or do something a little different that Craig and I had actually talked about coincidentally on our last catch-up. And that is for me to just regurgitate tons and tons of stories that I've actually been, just stockpiling for you. How does that sound?
Sounds all right, mate, because I genuinely haven't heard any of these stories. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you got piled up there.
Yeah, I deliberately do that to Craig. And it's not just because I like seeing his reaction. I find that's a small amusement I have in my life.
Yeah.
But it is, I just think it makes for better conversation when we're just kind of shooting the breeze.
Yeah, certainly no surprises that you're keeping secrets from me, mate.
I wasn't expecting that. So, yeah, you caught me off guard. Hey, just on that note, a quick update with what Craig and I have been up to. It might get a little confusing and I might actually blur the lines of podcast magic. But this is episode 20. Episode 19 will have already aired by the time you're listening to this. But I just wanted to let you know that it hasn't actually been released yet. It's confusing, isn't it? But let's just say that Craig and I have had a lot on our plate, and I mean a lot. There's been, just things happening within our families that we've had to tend to and concentrate on. And, I just haven't been in the right frame of mind to dedicate the time that it needed to get episode 19 out before this record. So, I do apologize for that. But the reason I mention it is because I guess if you listen to episode 19 and then you comment on episode 19, give us some feedback, all that sort of stuff. We love that. You're not going to hear it in this episode because we haven't released 19 yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a bit confusing. It's like
Inception, sliding
it's kind of
doors.
like Inception. It's kind of like Back to the Future at the same time, especially my hair. And so yeah. Anyway, I just want to be honest. I said to Craig before this record, I said, look, I just want to explain to people how things work, and I hope I haven't spoiled any of the magic there for you.
We spoiled a bit of the magic for me, mate.
Yeah, Craig actually didn't, understand how it
at
worked.
first. I'm like, why would we have
What?
to?
Hang on.
Oh, right.
I
'cause
thought
they
this was
might-
live. You always told me this was live. I get the best out of him when I tell him that. All right. All that's done. How are you, mate?
Good, buddy. Really good.
That's good. Good to hear.
Good to be chatting here. I think, as you said, we've had some pretty heavy weeks. I've been running up and down the coast of the hospital for my old man, and he's been not too well. So we are thinking of him, and
Yeah, absolutely we are.
yeah, so looking forward to, hopefully we can transport me into the outdoors with this podcast and some of our chats today, man. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. And I think without going into too much detail, had a sort of similar thing on my side of the fence as well a month ago. The loss of someone very close, and I'm not putting that out there for sympathy. I'm just putting that out there to explain why. Again, we do sometimes struggle with the timing of these episodes due to that thing called life and work and all the other rubbish that we have to do. But yeah, man, let's get our heads in the outdoor, because that's going to make us feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Hey, just before we were... Oh, hang on. Are you finished? Is that everything? I've just kind of cut you off there.
Yeah, mate. I haven't been getting out too much lately because it hasn't been that long since we were last together. So
No, that's exactly right.
it hasn't been much going on, but thanks for asking. What about yourself? Have you been shooting bows, or what have you been doing?
Little bit, but same sort of thing. It hasn't been that long since we were in here, so covered a lot of that in the last episode. But I have made a fairly significant adjustment to my training, and it's early days, so I'm yet to see if it pays off. But I was getting ready to get back into trail running, and when I say that, the kind of longer distances again. But I was reading about this. Have you heard of cortisol? It's kind of like
Cortisone.
No. That's the first thing I thought it was the same thing myself. No, it's cortisol. It's a chemical that your body releases. It actually releases it every day, more so in the morning and then periodically throughout the day. I won't go into too much detail now because I'll probably end up talking about it later, because there's a news article that touches on that. But basically, once you get to our ripe old ages, if you're training beyond a certain duration, you're putting your body under an amount of stress that causes you to the cortisol levels to jump up again. Now, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing, but what it actually does is now I'm going to get this wrong because that's what I'm known for, getting it wrong. But it takes, I think, glucose or something, and it changes it into fat. So it just does something really weird because of the stress. And so it just starts stockpiling this. Now, it's not such a big deal when you're in your 20s or even your 30s, you can get away with it. But once you start getting to, old people like you or whatever, you really by stressing your body out, you're forcing this cortisol to come out and do some work, which I don't know. So what I'm going to do, and I guess in a nutshell, I'm shortening they're still intense workouts, but I'm shortening the duration of them and to sort of sub 30 minutes. And yeah, as I say, early days, seen no results yet, except I am feeling pretty strong at the moment.
Something I've got to look forward to when I get old, eh?
Yeah, when you get there, mate, let me know.
So what are you saying, that you are trying to change to limit the cortisol?
Yeah, so it
effect?
naturally occurs pretty highly in the mornings.
So you're just having shorter exercise, you're exercising less.
I'm also switching to exercising in the mornings because I used to get home from work when I had a full-time job, and I would go for a run at 7 p.m. and run for an hour and a half, do like 15 kilometers.
Yeah.
And so I'm causing a massive spike late in the evening of cortisol that should never be there. And
Okay.
yeah, it's like I said, it's easier when you're young. Doesn't matter so much. But look, it's interesting. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. But I just like to try all these things and put it out there. And if someone else gets something out of it, good. But the kettlebells have come out, and I've been blasting them. And my goodness, are my glutamus maximuses sore.
Again.
Jeez. For other reasons.
Different.
Hey, also just off air, I was talking to Craig about the Alone series, which is it airs on the History Channel.
Yeah.
And Craig said you'd never really seen it, and I was shocked.
Hook me up, mate. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's a show put on by the History Channel, and I think the original first season, 10, I'll call them contestants because it is a competition. They're allowed to take 10 items each, so things like axes and a tarp and pot for boiling water and whatever else they choose is their 10 items, fishing line, stuff like that. And from memory, the first episode was Vancouver Island, and maybe even the second episode, season. But after that, they started dropping them at more remote locations around the globe, and the competition can go for up to a year, and you basically just see who can last the longest. You don't start with any food or water, you don't start with any shelter, you just basically get dropped off, and that's it.
So do they get dropped into the same area, the 10 of them?
Well,
how many people?
10, yeah. 10. So it's when you look at, they'll always sort of show you a map, and each person's roughly about 10 miles away from each other, which is significant.
Don't run into each other too.
No, they never have. But what they'll also do is they'll put physical things between contestants. So they'll put a contestant where there's kind of impenetrable cliffs at one side, a few miles away, and then they'll put another contestant over the other side of that. So they just never have the time or energy or even the need to kind of go that distance.
Yeah, because I imagine there'd be an element of hunting or something to gather food and stuff.
Yep, all
and
those things.
There'd be a risk that they may encounter the other contestants.
Yeah, exactly. But when you see the sort of terrain that these guys are in, especially Vancouver Island's horrific.
Wouldn't there be some advantage to your particular location? You know, obviously not all going to have fresh water. They're not the same amount of it. And
no, they're pretty good. Like they must spend. I did watch a bit of information on it might have been a making of or something,
right?
Where they spend a lot of time doing recon missions and scouting these locations, and they're all. You know, you look at the different locations and they're pretty damn similar, mate. Like they all have fresh running water stream within sort of, coming out of the rainforest down to they'll all kind of put people on the edge of a stream.
Yeah, right.
So everyone's got instant fresh water. Everyone has a little, in the case of Vancouver Island and Patagonia, they've got their own beachfront section. Very, very, very similar vegetation. Yeah, it's
okay.
As close as you can get. Yep.
I'd get pretty pissed off if you got dropped off with all the banana trees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you would be. Because I'd be fat as a fool on bananas, laughing my head off.
Yeah. Don't know why I said that.
They have so many banana trees in Canada as well.
Native.
All right. Now, this is going to get a bit wacky because we don't have a single subject to cover this evening. I'm going to jump straight to a couple of other segments and get rid of them before we hit the news and immerse ourselves in countless interesting articles. Hey, something interesting. I was talking to he's I'm sorry, I don't know his actual position. He works for Topo Maps Plus, which is one of our sponsors. But I don't know, do you get those update emails as well?
Yeah, there was something big lately.
Yeah, there was. One of the really cool things they've introduced recently, and I was talking to him about it on a on a video call just last week.
All right.
Is you now can do finger tracing on the screen and kind of work out the distance and everything with that as well. And that's something that wasn't previously available. So if a trail was there, you could tap on the trail and, see how long that was. But the problem was if you got to a point and you were going off trail to join up with another trail, you could never really gauge that distance or elevation or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So that's something pretty cool that they've put in. And the second I saw that email, I thought that's awesome. And when I was talking to him about it, I said, you know how long I've kind of wanted that? And he said it's kind of the same thing. It came from, because they're both avid hikers, the guys that are developing and releasing this. And it just came from a necessity for them as well. They got kind of jacked off with the same things that we do, and they put in the work and fixed it. So
right, so instead of just like dropping a pin where you want to go, you can actually trace with your finger on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you think you might head.
Where you think you might head, yeah.
And it'll calculate the distance of that.
Yeah, I believe that's exactly how it works. I've been mucking around with it in the app, but I've not been outdoors yet to actually, trial it in the field. Mm-hmm. But that'll obviously be one of the first things I do. Like that. And like I was saying to him on the phone, the places we go to that don't even have trails.
I'm thinking of several times you got me lost. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, getting lost is good for you. We'll talk about that later. You'll be thanking me later. Yeah. So the last hike I did, the solo hike I did was, there was no such thing as a trail, and I just went across this ravine and all this sort of stuff. But now I could actually draw that in and work out maybe how long it's going to take me and that sort of thing.
Cool.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right. I'm going to jump straight all the way over to Tom's Magical Media Mashup.
Okay.
Hey, there's a word missing. It's also a mystery mashup. Anyway, this is an interesting one. I used to work with this guy for a very short amount of time. He was a freelancer at an agency I worked at. And he was video editing for us, I think. His name's Noel Smith with a Y. And, I follow him on LinkedIn, and he's... this was years and years ago. He was starting to getting into shooting and directing back then. But he's done a documentary with a guy called Fergus Grady. It's called Camino Skies, and it's about the, what's it called in Camino de Santiago, which is the way of St. James. Have you ever heard of that pilgrimage?
Not sure, man.
Yeah, it's an 800-kilometre pilgrimage that a lot of people take. Anyway, they've made a documentary about it. I haven't seen the documentary, but I've looked at the trailer, and it's a pretty sweet-looking trailer. Follows the story of about, I think, around about six people undertaking the journey and why they're doing it and all that sort of stuff. And it's just recently been acquired by Parkland Pictures for distribution in the UK and Ireland. So our fair friends over there, keep an eye out for that. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
I'm going to have to hassle him now and make sure that he gets me a link to see it.
So you haven't seen it yet?
No, I've just seen the trailer, but
Sweet.
it looks good. I'll post the trailer in the show notes.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, I got one for you. Can you reckon you can pronounce that? Look on my screen there.
What? I'm not going to say that. Could be.
The
Do you want me to try?
No, I don't think you should.
No.
The reason why he's laughing is because it's actually French, but it's it's obviously not pronounced as literally as it is. Look, it's a little animated film, and it's been doing the rounds in the kind of adventure hiking community the last couple of weeks. And it's just a little animated film, and it's pretty cool. In the article that I read, it said, it's so funny you won't be able to not laugh. And I kind of hate it when people say that, because I'm one of those people that don't really laugh out loud at stuff. I internalize my laughing, believe it or not, mostly when I'm watching things. It's just a cool little short film about an air search and rescue team going into this mountain, and it has no dialogue whatsoever, which is awesome because it would have been in French, which is useless to me. But also, I think they've just done a beautiful job in the animation. And I tell you what, man, it got to halfway through, and I just burst out laughing. Like, actually, this gets better and better. It's worth a watch. It's just a bit of fun. It'll take, 6 minutes of your life and put a smile on your face.
Right, it's called Horse Piss.
Probably not. It's probably more of a French accent. Horse piste. You know what that means?
No.
It means off-road.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe is a loose translation for kind of adventure or something like that. But yeah, well worth checking out.
Sweet.
But yeah, if you got to write it down, it's HORSPISTE. All right. Quick shout outs today. Craig, tell me now, have you watched the latest Hike or Die YouTube video yet? You son of a bitch.
I don't know.
It's people like you.
Of course I have.
You have not. It's people. You haven't, have you?
I don't know.
You haven't. It's people like you is why I don't do YouTube videos anymore.
Come on.
But thankfully, we have loyal subscribers who not only watched it, but said nice things. On YouTube, Star Wars cosplay, which I actually thought, I'm sure I know that guy. That's my mum's cousin. Can you believe that? He sounds old, but he's not. He's our age.
Oh, yeah.
He says it's awesome where you live and the things you do. He lives in a concrete jungle, but he can't wait to move in the next few months. But yeah, thanks Andy for dropping us a note, mate. Josh, we all know Josh.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually been a guest on the podcast before.
Yep.
So yeah, just to recap, this is a trail running video I put up, and his comment was, I'd have to be getting chased by a large predator to get me to do that. Jodes Harrison, another loyal fan of ours, who also has his own YouTube channel, and you should check it out if you want to see what sort of things they get up to in the UK. He does a lot of hiking around the UK. Oh, yeah. It's very different to our hiking, Craig. He gets to take his dog sometimes, for one. I'm pretty sure it's his dog. Yeah. And he gets to stop and have ice creams whenever he wants when he's walking through towns and stuff.
All right.
Sounds pretty good, eh?
They don't melt.
Well, I just wish I had. The fact that you can get an ice cream on a hike. I don't think there's been one hike we've ever done where we've stopped for ice cream. Anyway, thanks, Jodes. He said he was feeling it just watching you run through this beautiful and beast of a trail. And he wished me a belated happy birthday. Thanks, Jodes. Much appreciated. And then, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Kia Frey. I don't know if that's his real name or just a YouTube name. But he said he's a long-time YouTube subscriber and just found out that we had a podcast today. Then he got home and, as he says, bam, new video. Great content, guys. Awesome to hear an Aussie voice in the outdoor adventure world. Keep up the great work. Thanks, matey. We do appreciate it. And it's, yes, if it wasn't for people like you, it'd just be people like Craig who don't even watch my content.
Was it just handheld on your trail runs?
It's my iPhone, yeah, just with my feet for 7 minutes.
It was a big production, was it?
Oh, it's huge.
No, I didn't know you were putting anything up, man. You have to send me a text.
So you're
or
not
something.
subscribed or anything?
I am. I think I am. Maybe I'm not.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe I'm
This
not.
gets more awkward by the minute. Shortest podcast ever. Shut it down.
Damn.
All right, let's go to some news. You ready for this? This is what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to take you on a journey of a myriad of topics. Some good, some bad, happy, sad, educational, silly.
No.
I like a bit of silly.
Yeah, right.
Hang on, I'm having a drink of water. All right. Excuse me. Where do we want to start? Oh, I don't want to start with that one. I will get to that one. Let's start with something positive. All right?
Yeah.
We can come back to the dreary ones later. Okay. I saw this article. I actually only saw this one today. It's a sunrise hiking challenge to help young Hong Kong adults with mental health issues and to experience a journey from darkness to dawn. So there's an organization over there called the Mental Health Foundation, and they have this program now called Night to Light. And basically what they're trying to do is, so what it actually is they take participants aged between 18 and 24 and they take them on this hike into the wilderness of an evening, and they stay out all night and they watch the sunrise. And the idea behind it is, no matter how dark it gets, there's always going to be light again, which is pretty cool ethos as well. And this year they've actually been funded by something over there that's called Operation Santa Claus. It's like an annual fundraising event. And they're donating money to this mental health foundation, which will be used for hiring instructors and therapists and all sorts of hiking gear so that these young people can get out into the wilderness. What do you think about that, Craig?
Man, I'm a bit touched by that. That sounds really special.
It's a good one, isn't it?
I reckon.
First thing I thought was, when do you need me over there to guide these people?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, eh?
I'm usually snoring pretty loudly through the night, but
I do know that.
You know that. But sitting up all night and watching the sunrise, I haven't really done that a lot. I reckon there would be something special about that, like an amazing feeling at the end.
Yeah, so there definitely would be. So we've travelled through the night to get to locations and got there late. And we even did a podcast where we didn't arrive until, I don't know what time we get there, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
And recorded into the night. But so they'll travel through the night, get to their destination. They'll do activities. They're kind of open to have conversations about where they're at with their health and all that sort of thing. There's therapists there if they want to have a deeper conversation. There's group activities and stuff. And, at the end of the day, they're getting people outdoors and hopefully getting them hooked on that. But I just thought that was
they'd get lost out of that, I'm sure, man. That's cool.
get a ton out of that.
That is a good one to start with.
I thought so. Thank you very much. Now let's go into something terrible.
Terrible?
Might as well get them over and done with. Oh, here's something not so terrible. Oh, this one, man. You hear that sigh? You know what that sigh means. Young hikers, the latest rescue in Tasmania. Did you read that article?
I think I heard about this.
Yeah, 4 20-something-year-old hikers. 2 males, 2 females. Mount Field National Park in Tasmania. Now, the thing is, they're in the demographic that might be listening to this, but I don't think they have, because they've made fundamental mistakes, Craig. Temperatures dropped to -4 degrees. That's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And not just that, but the weather was not ideal as well. And thankfully, they were able to raise the alarm by cell phone, so mobile phone, which is very, very lucky, because, you know, Craig and I have been to that region of the world, and you're lucky to get any reception anywhere. So they're very lucky to get that. Now, what they kind of... Look, anyone can get lost. Anyone can get caught out. You know, we've got lost. But what they didn't do was they hadn't registered their walk with National Parks and Wildlife Authority.
Is that right?
Yeah, so they hadn't signed into anything. They hadn't, I don't believe that, they hadn't booked anything or whatever. So, and I don't think they told significant others either. So they were basically out there. And if they hadn't have been able to raise the alarm by phone, it would have been a much more dangerous situation. Now that already kind of made me think, okay, everyone else, let's take a lesson out of that and make sure the basic things. We've talked about this a long time ago on the podcast, Craig, and legitimately, if I go hiking in a location that Craig and I have been to before, and I go there solo, I'll give him a detailed explanation of which route I'm taking to drive in, then which route I'm taking to hike in, then where I'm planning to stay the day or night, and then at what time I will contact him on the way out. The last solo hike I did, Craig had never been there, so I contacted the landowner and I sent him a screenshot, and I put markers on exactly where I was going to be, on what day, and at what time he should seriously consider raising the alarm. I do it out of habit. I hope I never need to use it, but someone is always going to be able to get to me within hours instead of days. And I think that people who maybe don't understand how brutal nature is or how quickly she can turn are the people that maybe aren't going to those lengths.
Yeah, it just keeps coming up, doesn't it?
It does just keep coming up. And to be honest, mate, I could have had another 6 articles like this to discuss tonight, and I just thought, I'm going to talk about it once and forget about it, because I'm kind of sick of talking about it. The same thing pops up. What makes it more frustrating is at the end of this article, this news article, it says, this is the 4th time in 5 days search crews have rescued bushwalkers in strife in the same area. 4th rescue in 5 days.
Yeah.
Same situation. Every single one they listed, I won't go into detail, but every one they listed was, this person got lost. This person got caught out in a storm. This person...
Yeah.
It's just the same old story.
It makes for great stories for the people that make it back safe. But,
not everyone's making it back safe.
Not everyone's making it back safe is the extreme. And you don't know whether, like you said, they just are in that type of person that hadn't even considered the danger of what they were doing.
Yeah, look, that's probably most likely the case. And I remember when I used to live on the coast and I used to surf a lot. And the more you surf, I've surfed around the world. I've surfed in San Diego and also in Fiji. And the more you get destroyed by waves and caught out and in very scary situations. A couple of times my leg ropes broke, so I've lost my board and I've been floating out the back. All these things happen, and you see newbies kind of come into the water, and the way they approach things is downright scary. You think, oh, are they really going to try and jump off that point where the waves are smashing in? And sure enough, half the time they get swept back up the rocks and cuts and smash their board. Just little things like that. But we all had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I did stupid things. I've been washed up on the rocks myself.
Yeah.
So we all had to start somewhere. But when there's so many resources out there like this podcast or these articles or all that sort of stuff, I think even if you are a hiker or you're any kind of adventurer and people are coming to you for advice, as they do to me and as they do to you, Craig, I'm sure, hey, I want to get into hiking. What should I do? I want to do a day hike or something. One of the first things I'm saying is tell someone where you're going. Make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you got a map. Make sure you tell someone where your car's parked. And just the basics, that should be the first thing that people consider.
Yeah, I mean, a few things come from experience, and it's not...
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like almost fun policing, like don't go and have fun unless you've done this first.
Yeah.
But it's such a simple thing to do, to be more prepared to let someone know where you are. It's just the hassles that it saves.
The hassles and the expense that it saves rescue teams. And like I said before, let's say you've done everything correctly and you have a fall. It's you're on a rock slips out, you have a fall, you break your leg. It could happen to anybody. It's not your fault. Okay. Now there's the difference between getting rescued in 6 to 12 hours to 24 hours to 72 hours or to never is the difference between who have you told, how specific have you been, who have you notified, and have you stayed your course.
Yeah.
All those things factor in. Are you going to get extracted in 3 hours by a chopper, or are they going to spend 4 days searching vague areas from where your car was parked?
Yeah.
And maybe find you in a less than ideal state.
Well, hopefully the people that are listening to this have a grasp on that. But I remember even a few years into what we were doing, and I would kind of at the last minute, kind of on my way to a trail on my own, I would remember and I go, oh shit, I haven't told anyone.
Yeah.
And I made it a priority a few times to pull over, send that message. And if nothing went wrong, but you have to start to do that. I think it's really important, eh?
And if you're somebody who's had that bestowed upon them, take it seriously. I remember on at least one occasion, Craig, you texted me and said, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be traveling to here. I'm going to be staying overnight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to contact you by midday the next day. And I guarantee you, man, I was looking at my phone,
checking it
around 10 o'clock in the morning, thinking, okay, he's still got 2 hours. And I got a text from you as soon as you got in reception. Great, all good. But, mate, I swear I was ready to jump in the car and come straight down if it got to midday and I hadn't heard from you.
Yeah. I reckon these guys travelling in a group too, they kind of have that group mentality where you feel a bit safer too.
Yeah, you definitely. Oh, no, he's probably got it under control, and he's thinking the same thing about the next person.
And the other side of that is perhaps they all kind of think the other people may have let someone know. So
that's true as well, and maybe that's a really great point, mate. Maybe that's something you say as a group.
Communicate a bit.
Hey, has anybody let anybody know where we're going just before we
leave the car?
Yeah, just before we do that. Or that's a good point, mate. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a pretty heavy topic, mate.
I don't want to do any more of that. I think people are
just hitting their head on the steering wheel in their car listening to this going, oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Right. Tragic. Let me lift it up. Lift the mood. with the rain frog, world's grumpiest frog. Look at it.
Oh, that's a frown if ever I've seen one.
It's not even pissed off. But that's just how it looks.
That's its happy face.
It never gets happy. Check it out.
That's awesome.
I know. It's just look at it. It's like, oh, I feel sorry. That's the first frog I wanted to cuddle. He looks bummed.
Oh man.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it? Look at him. There you go. Nothing more to be said. I know you guys are really missing out listening. But go to look at this guy. Oh man.
That's out of this world.
Oh, look at this guy. Mental. Oh, it's just so cool.
Grumpy frog.
It's like a potato that somebody stuck sad dog eyes on with little legs. Oh man, look at this guy. So good. Yeah, you're missing out. But go to the
Tell me more. Is this a real animal, and where does it live?
It actually doesn't
Say.
doesn't
It's
say.
made of plasticine. It's a comic.
No, it's real. Hang on. There was no real. I just couldn't stop laughing so much that I never actually got to any details. So that was pretty silly of me. But I do have an article, but in the article they don't say anything except
Sad and useless.
that although it looks grumpy, it's not really silently judging your poor life decisions. Just how it looks, always. Yeah, it's called a rain frog. Pretty cool. I'll put a link to that article in the show notes on hoggadeye.com.
Yeah, check that out.
It'll give you a laugh. If you don't laugh, there's something wrong with you. Just saying. Just saying. Well, that lifted the mood. That was absolute gold. It's better than I thought. I'll tell you what else lifts the mood, and that is 2015. This man tried to fight a grizzly in Banff National Park. And there's photos of him, sizing up with the kind of boxing stance and walking towards this grizzly. I don't like to give airtime to complete idiots. And why am I mentioning this now when it happened in 2015? The good news is that just recently he was fined $4,000 for disrupting wildlife and putting people in danger, that sort of stuff. That was a pretty cool ending, right?
Okay, so they prosecuted him for the video that he released, or was
No, he didn't do it. He didn't do a video. Someone else took photographs of him trying to fight this bear, and in the photographs you can clearly see this grizzly's just standing there looking at him, and like the rangers and everything said, oh, he is so lucky he wasn't torn to shreds.
Yeah, right. And it was stupid, but it was, yeah, just potentially.
Oh, he was drunk. He was so drunk.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he was drunk, and he was just being a complete fool. Like I said, I don't want to give airtime to idiots, but the only reason I did mention it was because he got...
Just deserves.
Yeah, exactly. And,
cool.
yeah, hopefully he learned something from that.
A lesson.
A lesson.
For all of us.
Speaking of lessons, we can make it lessons. I read this article quite some time ago and didn't actually ever have time to talk about it on the podcast. We've done an episode on Leave No Trace, haven't we? And ethics and hiking and all that sort of stuff very early on in the piece. It's worth a listen, just between you and me. They Leave No Trace put out a article, it was back in September, and it said, it was called 5 Common Leave No Trace Misconceptions. I looked at it and I thought, I know everything. I don't need to read this. But as I went through, I thought, actually, this is worth mentioning. Number one is the principles are rules. So that's a misconception. They're meant to be guidelines and not rules. So they say they should be used to help build a better understanding of the potential impacts and the ways to minimize them. So, yeah, I just thought it was pretty cool how they kind of made it. They've distinguished between them being hard rules. They're more like things that you should consider. Myth number 2, or misconception number 2, you need to practice leave no trace perfectly. Well, if you were practicing it perfectly, you wouldn't even walk into the wilderness because, you'd leave a footprint or scuff your boot on some moss or something. So they kind of say, well, no, what we need to do is put in as much effort as possible 100% of the time and get as close as we can to perfection. But, not feel bad if we're not there. Because you can always improve on it. This is a good one, I thought. If you've learned it once, you're covered for life. And that's pretty wrong because, as you know, when they're kind of constantly making discoveries on how we're impacting the wilderness, and also that changes significantly between areas, states, countries, regions. So you really can't just take one rule and apply that even to your own country because it can change so significantly.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of like first aid stuff, how it just changes all the time.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. You've done your first aid course, but you do the refreshers because things change over time.
It always does.
I've kind of covered this next one in the last one where it's the same everywhere. That's obviously not the case between their example of a desert ecosystem and a high alpine ecosystem. Yeah. Impacts happen because people don't care. The way they've kind of addressed that is saying, well, sometimes, or for the most part, it's not because people don't care. It's because they're unaware, uninformed, or misinformed. And so that's probably my favorite one, actually, is genuinely, I think most people getting out there do want to do the right thing. But if they're not starting with the right information, then essentially they're going to be further away from that perfect 10 that we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while to really get your head around it. And, I'm sure we've all done things in the early days that we look back on and go, geez, I didn't quite get that,
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think about sometimes I've been caught off guard at certain places and haven't been able to do what I'd like to do, and you kind of think back on those things and think, oh, geez, I really shouldn't have done that. But the fact that
none of us are perfect, mate. None of us.
Yeah, I mean,
apart from you.
We're close. We're close. No, nowhere near it, mate. So I think it's one of those things that you just keep at, do your best, and I think encourage other people, because you certainly can't expect new people to walk into the environments we go into and automatically understand the impact of, let's say, for example, lathering themselves up with huge amounts of bug spray and sunscreen and then jumping in a waterfall to go for a swim. Like that's it just people wouldn't even consider that, the repercussions or potential repercussions of that. But
yeah. No, it does take a deeper understanding, that sort of stuff, eh?
Yeah, I just thought it was
and you don't have to be so critical, because it's not something to be policed. It's not something to kind of point fingers. It's just something to understand, I think, as you sort of navigate the outdoors, how you impact on things.
Yeah, and I think you can help. You can kind of learn from each other. Like I've definitely seen the way you've done things in the past and thought, oh, that's a pretty good way of doing that, or
I thought you were going to say the
try
opposite. I'm
yeah,
sure.
I'll never do that.
I'm
What
gonna
is
have
that
to
guy
tell
doing?
him something about that. Yes.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. This was on the Red Bull website. I didn't even know that they ventured into the hiking sort of outdoors realm, but actually after I found this, I found quite a few interesting articles, and they were pretty good. This article was called 10 Reasons Why Your Brain Loves a Hike, in brackets, according to science. Straight away that told me that was geared at the demographic that visit the Red Bull website. Just so you know, dude, it's totally according to science.
According to science. Yeah.
Okay,
What do the Red Bull scientists have to say?
No, they're referencing real, actual scientific articles, and I did go through and check some of the facts, and they've referenced things like Forbes magazine articles and stuff. So yeah, it's all legit, as you would expect by such a big brand.
Okay.
Let me give you a few of them. I'm not going to give you all 10. Using a compass. Oh, they've also given them pretty crazy out there titles on the segments, like using a compass supercharges the brain, which is just kind of crazy, wacky, extreme way of saying that losing your bearings while hiking can actually be beneficial for your brain. Neuroscientist Dr. Hannah Critchlow says, basically, learning new skills for navigating your way around this new space, and even the simple act of exploring, helps your brain flourish again, boosts brain plasticity and flexibility, and helps functional circuits to form in the brain. What do you reckon of that?
No, I've been saying that for years.
Yeah. I haven't ever heard you say it, but fair enough.
It does make sense.
It's pretty cool. And the first thing I thought of when I read that was how much smarter you guys must be, especially you and Josh, for me getting you lost all the time.
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
You've been helping us
Remember I
out.
was saying earlier, you'll be thanking me later when you realise that it actually improves your brain plasticity. Because I noticed sometimes your plasticity is not as plasticity as it should be.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You've been waiting for this moment to tell
oh
me.
boy, his brain could be more flexible. I'll get him lost again.
Yeah.
All good.
Out of your comfort zone. You do have to stretch your brain a bit, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
It also releases chemicals. Sorry. Let me retract that. Trees release chemicals that supposedly reduce stress.
Or oxygen.
No, not that. And there's this thing called forest bathing in Japan, which is kind of just people going out.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's going out into the forest and just sitting or laying around and just, breathing in the good air and just chilling out. So, and we all know how good that is just to get out. And I think that's one of the reasons why solo hiking is so popular, and I think why I enjoy it so much is you don't even have to have a conversation. And if you have a conversation with yourself, you're always going to be right, which is good.
Enlightened.
Now, so the theory, and this is just a theory, but the phytonicides are organic compounds with antibacterial properties, and they're released by trees. And it may explain why sustained time out in and around woodlands can also be found to improve the body's immune system and and increase energy levels. Pretty cool, huh?
I'm not sold on that.
No. Well, that's the thing is it's just a theory, and that's what we all know. Like there's so much evidence that being in the wilderness and the outdoors improves your overall well-being. I might even have another article about that later on.
Yeah.
But it's basically you're breathing fresh air, you're usually moving your body to get there. You're stimulating, sight, sound, smell, everything. So there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And there's just another level that they're
just not
bringing.
sure how that gets from the trees to us. Is it something in the air or something that...
No, you got to eat the bark. That's how you get it. So
I was waiting for that. Must be something like that.
Anyway, hopefully they can scientifically prove that one day.
Yeah.
Another thing that they touched on was exercising in beautiful surroundings induces alpha waves. Right. So our same friendly doctor, Critchlow, says that exercising in beautiful surroundings would induce alpha waves, the slow frequency of brain waves that flow electrically across your brain. What they're particularly good for is helping you think in a calm and maybe a creative way as well. There is some indication that if you have higher alpha waves, it helps combat depression. There you go, man. Alpha waves. Now that's by Dr. Critchlow, so that's not a theory. That's a fact.
Look, I'm just going to stand up a little bit and say, so I think alpha waves are during sleep, aren't they? So are you supposed to be out there in nature sleeping?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
They say specifically exercising would induce alpha waves. Again, I think being out there and just being stimulated by the beauty of nature it's got to do something for you.
I'm sold on that.
Yeah, I know. I'm preaching to the converted here.
Yeah.
It's all good. Anyway,
No, that's cool.
I'll put the links to the articles. People read them yourselves. Discount them yourselves. Tell us we're wrong. All right. Oh, I don't even know if I want to go there. I don't think I want to do that story. That's a downer. Let me jump to another one. Ooh.
What do you got for me, Tom?
I've got a juicy one. I have a juicy one. And then I promise I'll go to a more fun one after that. Do you want the juicy one?
Yeah.
Okay. Juicy because it has controversy. There is a plan there's a national park in Australia called Ben Boyd National Park. And they're planning on doing a light-to-light Great Walk. So a hiking trail that goes from one lighthouse down the coast to another. Now, it's in the state of New South Wales in Australia. Bushwalkers and campers in New South Wales could soon be charged as much as $125 a night to stay in parts of a national park they can currently access for next to nothing. Next to nothing would be about $6.50 a night at this point in time. Now, it's interesting, Craig, because that's the first line of the article. And as I read through the article, I started getting more and more kind of unhappy with what I was reading. And then it kind of made me think about the overland track that we've both done in Tasmania and how there's you can pay a lot of money to be like a top tier patron of that, and you go to private huts
guided in private huts. Yeah,
that's right, you use the same trail.
Better experience, maybe.
For people who can't carry a pack,
okay,
it's their only option, and that's why you see 65-year-old people doing it that way, because they can't drag a 25 kilogram pack around for 7 days. It's all good. But you'll see as I go through this, the fundamental difference is at the overland track, you can do it just as a member of the public, and you can stay in public huts, which are very well maintained.
Like we did
Recently,
yeah.
For a very, 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 very small percentage of the cost of what you do in private huts. You can also do an in-between thing where you get guided, but you just you still stay on the public hut platforms, but you are guided. So it's kind of like a halfway thing, which obviously costs a bit more again. The difference is with what I'm getting from this article is that they plan to only do the expensive huts to attract, basically to make money out of a national park. And I know this is very Australia-based and specifically, only really affecting
Locals.
the locals to that area or people like us that
so you won't be able to do it on the cheap anymore. You'll have to do it.
That's where they're heading, mate.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly where they're heading.
Okay.
So it's an $8 million state government plan to commercialise parts of Ben Boyd National Park.
Where is that?
The far south coast.
Far south
of New South Wales. Yep.
Okay.
So it could see casual visitors to certain parts of the reserve limited.
Lighthouse to lighthouse, how far is it? Does it say?
Oh, I did read it somewhere, mate. Sorry, I didn't put that information.
But is it like a 1 day?
No.
So you've got to stay
it's like that's where there's cabins. I think they're working on like a 3 or 4 day hike, I believe.
And it gets cold down there too, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it get cold down there for sure. Yep. So Bushwalking Victoria, that's Victoria's a state, another state in Australia. Bushwalking Victoria President Colin McDonald said he's concerned about the plans for the Light to Light Great Walk, which is intended to be, in quotes, an Instagrammable glamping style experience,
Right.
complete with huts and compost toilets.
Right.
Here's a quote from Colin, whatever happened to the national parks are for all mantra.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say the people who least need the infrastructure will be restricted, while the heavy resource users are welcomed in, complete with red carpet and champagne. Now that's when I started to kind of think, mate, you're just kind of having a bit of a go at people that can afford to do it. I mean, I get what he's saying in that, that it's taken a lot away from, for example, what you and I consider a hike is we get so much value out of the actual journey itself and the adversity that we face at times. But then as I read on, I think that he's justified in what he says, because they also spoke to. Oh, sorry. You interrupted me before. What I was saying was, I know this is a very Australian story. The reason I'm raising it is because I think that, this sort of thing happens around the world. And I just think it's interesting to get people's perspectives on this sort of thing, no matter where it is, because essentially if something works in one place, they're going to sort of start doing it around the world. So Peter Windle is a former National Parks and Wildlife Services ranger, has questioned how the government department could manage it, given that only private operators would be eligible to be members of that area. He also goes on to say it seems to be selling off or leasing areas of national parks for the exclusive use of higher paying guests, while the local users will be excluded or restricted. And that's when I started to think, okay, I think that earlier guy Colin's comments are kind of warranted. Now, where it gets really suspect is if it's approved, it'll become the first commercial hut-to-hut walk in New South Wales. Now, as we've said, there's hut-to-hut walks in other states of Australia, but not in New South Wales. But there is This is one of more than 100 projects that the government has identified with the aim of generating. I'm just not really talking very well tonight. I apologise. Sorry, it's one of 100 projects the government has identified with the aim of generating an income from national parks. I didn't like that. And also when they tried to investigate on what those other, 100 projects were, the government wouldn't disclose what they were yet. That's pretty scary, mate, to think that they're basically trying to monetize the national parks, and they're arguing that it's bringing in income and everything like that, and that money's going to go towards national parks. I kind of understand that, but only to a small degree, because I don't like the idea that you are restricting people that just want to get outside and enjoy the wilderness. And as that guy said earlier, the national parks are for everybody, and they should be easily accessible and definitely not restricted to just the average person who wants to go out or take their kids out for a hike or an overnight hike and use the basic facilities and pay, $6 a night or whatever.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I feel funny talking about it without fully understanding it. But do you think that what they're doing is perhaps leasing sections to a private company who's then going to, if you want to go there, you have to go through this company. So therefore the government will make money from the private company's got to give them so much each year.
Exactly.
Which is great for revenue. And they will therefore upgrade the huts, you'd imagine, upgrade the facilities, make it, there's no guarantee on that.
No, but the huts, they are going to put huts in, but the huts won't be accessible by you and I.
No, you have
unless
to go
we pay
through
$125 a night and go with them.
Right.
So that's the difference is, I love the idea of the money going back into awesome huts and everything, but then they're not making those same huts accessible to just the average person.
So without studying it, you could be upset that there's not an available just a camping platform near the huts that is on a very sort of affordable budget option where you can just, as you say, rough it along the same.
That's right, and they've most certainly made it clear that that's not the intention.
Really?
They're not intending to have
that is
someone can pay $125 and stay in the cabin, or someone can pay $6 and stay on the platform, because I think they don't want the people associating we don't want to see those people around here.
And that's the risk of giving it to a private company who can name their price
exactly
for what they offer, and that's risky. So I can see why that's controversial.
We paid a lot of money to stay in Tasmania, but I have no problem with that, because I know that every cent goes back into the preservation of that area and the upkeep of those cabins and
similarly, if you're saying it's $100 and something to do the walk, that's got to go towards maintaining these huts and stuff that you may or may not want to use. But currently you're saying it's only, let's say $10 or $6 or whatever to do it. That's a big change.
Well, you think about that $125 a night. I think we paid, was it a bit more or a bit less than that to do unlimited amount of nights on our trip.
Just to get the walking pass, that's right.
Yeah, just to get the pass. You're allowed in, and then you're allowed to spend however many nights you want getting to the destination.
We were in the hut, sometimes we're just in our tents or whatever. I can see how that can be risky if it doesn't turn out the way everyone wants it to,
It'd be like taking the Appalachian Trail or a section of the Appalachian Trail in the US and saying, hey, I know a lot of you guys use this and that's great and it's really cheap and affordable, but this particular section you're only allowed to go through if you use these guides and you book the huts and you book the huts and you pay $125 a night. That people will just lose it, man.
All right, so maybe we should watch this space in terms of the New South Wales and their their national parks and what they do with some of these walks, eh?
Yeah, because if that one gets through, as they say, they've got another 99 ideas up their sleeves that they're not releasing information on. Sorry, didn't mean to get all political on you. Let's go to something fun. Listen to this headline. 86-kilogram Mastiff Floyd says nope to hiking Utah mountain. Has to be rescued.
He pushed his button, did he?
He tapped out.
Called for the chopper.
A dog owner in the United States got more than they bargained for when their 86-kilogram Mastiff decided he was done hiking and had to be rescued. The 3-year-old dog. Oh, we've all been there with hiking buddies as well. The 3-year-old dog named Floyd was rescued from the mountain trail in the state of Utah last week after refusing to walk back down. Now, what's really cool, I don't know if I don't think I've got this one ready to go. Sorry, Craig, but there's a grumpy frog again. Yeah, no, I don't have that one ready to go. There's a really cool video in that article of him on a stretcher and these two volunteers carrying him out on a stretcher. And he's big, man. He's massive. When you think about that, that's heavier than me. That's 4 kilos heavier than me.
Yeah.
And it's a dog. He's huge. But he's just sitting there on the stretcher, so calm, like some kind of a prince or something. And the owners rang up, the same kind of rescue, search and rescue guys that you would if it was a person. And they said, look, the weather's kind of getting cold and turning a bit sour. And they said, I'm not sure if you're the right people to ring, but it's not a human in trouble. It's a dog, and we don't want to leave our dog up here. And she said she was really impressed and delighted that they said no problems. Like, they acted as swiftly and
really,
yeah, for the dog. I thought that was really cool because we all know how attached we get to our pets, and really there's no way you're going to carry an 86-kilogram anything out of there. And also, if they had left it, who knows what predators would have come through the night, or do you stay with it? So I thought that was pretty cool, and good on those guys for going in there and carrying the poor thing out.
I'm sure that's not the only reason we're not allowed to take dogs on the trails around here.
Yeah, probably.
No.
I think it's more about the wildlife.
Yeah.
Dogs go nutso.
But that's a big difference, eh? That it's like surreal for us to hear that story because we wouldn't be able to take. I mean, we can't take our dogs up, Wild Horse or even.
No, you just can't take them anywhere.
Anywhere in our area, eh? But yeah. you can over there. Obviously.
Well, yeah, like a lot of places, it seems that you can. Remember, Tanya, she's a trail runner. We had her as a guest on the podcast. She would. I know she ran on private land a lot as well, trail running, but she does take her dog a lot of places, and I see a lot of people hiking with dogs over there. I'm sure it probably differs state to state and probably national park to national park, but it just seems like it's something they're a bit more relaxed on over there.
Yeah, nice.
Over here, at least to my knowledge, as soon as it's national park, it's 100% off limits for dogs. And I'd say that I'm sure there's a lot of stupid dog owners in the US as well, but there's a lot of stupid dog owners over here. I used to live near a beach, and I'd take my dog down there on the lead, which you're allowed to do, but people who get down there and just take the lead off their dogs and can't control them, and they go nuts, like harassing people, running across towels, chasing other dogs, having fights, and it causes a lot of drama, man. Imagine if you threw some wild animals into the mix.
I got friends with children like that.
Oh, yeah?
Nah, just joking.
Oh, yeah, it's your kids? Just joking. They're not friends. It's me.
I'm asking for a friend.
Where do we want to go next? Where do we want to go, up or down? Okay, how do we top that? How do we top, what's his name? Floyd the dog. Floyd the dog. Let's go to Jimmy Ashby. Young Adventurer of the Year 2019. Because he cycled around the world. And he's 18.
Oh, wow.
What were you doing when you were 18? Did you do anything that significant?
Not at all, mate. Can you just show me that bike again? What sort
Shocking,
of bike
isn't it? It's not even really it's not even a mountain bike. It doesn't have any suspension at the back. Doesn't look like it's got any shockies at the front. It's just
a road bike.
Banged up road bike. There he is there. Looking pretty happy. Yeah. So
jeez. Young Adventurer of the Year.
Jimmy said he had been preparing the trip for years. At 16, he cycled 900 kilometres solo down the coast of Tasmania. And straight after finishing year 12, which is the final year of schooling in Australia, the senior year, he spent 3 weeks riding solo on the South Island of New Zealand.
Nice.
Again, at 16, I'd never even spent a night alone or without my parents, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's it's massive.
A big commitment, Jesus.
It's a huge commitment. So he spent, he went west to east around the world, over 393 days. I'll do the maths for you. That's over a year. And he covered 39,000 kilometres. 39,000 kilometres. Let me drop that into Google.
Is this an Australian accomplishment or global award?
Oh, I think it's Australian Geographic. Let me just get to that after. That's 24,000 miles.
24,000 miles. He rode his bike.
Yeah, that was a
Young Adventure.
Australian Geographic.
But is it an Australian Young Adventure, like the best in Australia or best in the world?
Young Adventure of the Year 2019. Oh, jeez,
I'm sorry, I'm asking the tough questions here.
Doesn't kind of say. I understand what you're saying. Is this a worldwide
qualifying?
Yeah, like, could anybody?
I'm just because is he from Australia? Or
yeah, he is, which makes me think
Tasmania,
that
New Zealand.
It kind of makes me think that it's an Australian award.
Perth to Adelaide and stuff. It says there.
Yeah.
Young Adventurer. That's epic.
Oh wow! Listen to this. This is where these things get really crazy. Jimmy faced countless challenges: mechanical problems, harsh weather, even global terrorism. 6 weeks before Jimmy cycled the road on the Afghan border, 4 cyclists were killed in an act of terror by Islamic State.
Whoa.
When Jimmy arrived at the location and found a memorial for them, it instantly broke him. The fear that it could have been him, but also the fear that he was putting his friends and family through.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I'm sure he's got some cool stories. Maybe we need to hear him one day.
Yeah.
Good on you, mate. Anyway, congratulations. What an effort. He's done more than people do in a lifetime, and he's done it
so young.
At 18. I kind of feel real useless when I read about people like that. let's lift it up a bit. His success has made me down.
That does happen. That happens to me a lot.
Daily. See my kids doing things. I think I can't even do that now. All right, here's a good one for you. It's a bit of lighthearted. Have you heard of The Onion before? Mm. It's essentially just a piss take. It's just a piss take website. Yep. Probably very similar to the Batuta Advocate, which is an Australian website / Facebook page of I was going to say a fictitious location, but it's not. It's a real town, but it kind of is a ghost town. But they write articles daily about all the amazing things happening around this town called Batuta. Anyway, that's something else you can Google yourself. But let me read this to you. It's actually pretty cool, and it's obviously tongue in cheek. But what I love about it is that it kind of does hit the mark for. You'll see what I mean. Are you ready for it? Here's the title. A woman's solo hiking trip, shockingly, doesn't have anything to do with her inner journey or anything. There's a picture of some, 30-something lady hiking. Yosemite Village, California. That's CA, California. Hope that's right, friends over there. Tell me if I'm wrong. Confusing her friends and colleagues as to what could possibly drive her to undertake such an expedition, sources confirmed Friday that aspiring explorer Gillian Green's solo hike through Yosemite National Park has evidently nothing to do with soul-searching, an inner journey, or any other form of self-discovery. Naturally, I assumed she was attempting to deal with a catastrophic event, loss of a parent, or devastating breakup, or something similar. But no, Gillian is really just using her vacation time to be out in nature, just walking for the sake of walking, I guess, says Green's co-worker, Demery Jacobs, who noted the baffling 10-day trip requires Green to carry all of her own gear and food, sleep under the stars in all manner of weather, and be completely cut off from technology, while in no way helping her come to terms with the true self, making peace with her demons, or ease her transition in a new chapter of her life.
What a waste of time.
I know, right? She's not graduating from anything, trying to reconnect with her inner child, attempting to understand the soul of her distant but nature-loving father, exploring an external wilderness in order to comprehend an inner universe, assuring her cultural guilt over land stolen from indigenous people, or trying to kick heroin. So we can't think of any reason she'd want to explore the outdoors. We're all pretty freaked out. At press time, Green's family and friends expressed regret over not staging an intervention immediately after she revealed her desire to just enjoy the fresh air, silence, and sunsets.
Nice.
That's good, isn't it?
That's perfect, yeah.
That actually made me laugh, that one. I thought that was very good. All right, we've gone up. Oh, my computer's spazzing out. I'll have a glass of water. How are you enjoying this so far?
This is good, man. I wasn't sure what to expect when you said, hey, I've got all this stuff I just want to just go through. But there's that frog again.
Every time I click back through my tabs, you see the grumpy frog. He's great.
It's all good.
I might get him printed on a T-shirt. All right, where will I go to yet? Next. Oh, that's the one I just read. That was great. Ooh. I got to finish on a positive, remember? Good news is I've only got positives left because I'm not going to do the story about the giraffe that ran into the cars. Look that one up yourself.
Oh, no. I'm afraid to even encourage you at all on that.
No,
one.
don't encourage me. Because the thing is, I don't we've been laughing about stuff, and I don't want to go and read that one and accidentally laugh.
Yeah, right.
Nobody was hurt except for the giraffe, which is unfortunate.
Ouch.
Okay, what do we do first? All right. How a 13-year-old saved his dad's life. Sound good?
Yeah.
Charlie Finlayson was on the ultimate climbing adventure with his dad, David, when a loose boulder forced him to make a daunting rescue. This is one of those things where, again, you think back to when I was 13 and how essentially useless I was, and then you think about this situation. So this is David, the father, talking. I'd been taking Charlie into the backcountry since he was a baby, and when he was 13, we planned a trip to these granite towers about 13 miles into Frank Church, River of No Return Wilderness, in good old Idaho. A week in, we were about 1,000 feet up a tower. There was a loose rock, so I anchored Charlie off to a tree to belay me while I did some route finding. That's when I heard the crack. Charlie's version of events is I didn't see the boulder hit him, but I saw a rock flake that he was standing on come off the wall. Back to the father. My left arm was above my head and the boulder hit it. The boulder snapped it, crushed my helmet, broke my back and my left leg. I ended up 40 feet below Charlie, still hanging off this cliff. Charlie then says, I couldn't see him because there was this bush in the way, so I didn't know if he was alive. He was silent for like 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I kept shouting and asking if he could hear me. Think about that, how long 5 minutes is normally, and think about how long 5 minutes is when you've just seen your dad get smashed by a boulder and go down into some bushes. 5 minutes would be like half an hour.
For sure.
So then his dad, David, says, I woke up and heard Charlie yelling. I told him I was okay but bleeding and I needed the first aid kit. He lowered it down and then repelled me down another 20 feet to a ledge, where he helped me get bandaged. We were so far up the wall, I thought I might bleed out before we got down. But I just couldn't say, hey, I might not make it. I told him that if I passed out, he should tie me off to the wall and go. It took us till nightfall to reach the bottom. This is Charlie, the son, says, there was one point where I knew he was delirious because he said, okay, you can scramble from here. It looks pretty flat. And we were still 100 feet up. Glad Charlie had his wits about him.
Oh, that would have been horrible.
Oh, man, it's full on. Charlie went to our camp in the dark to get sleeping bags, water and food. So obviously he took those things back to the bottom of the cliffs. We stayed up all night talking. He'd doze off and then pop up to make sure I was awake. At first light, he got moving very slowly back to camp. Many times I said, Charlie, I can't go any further. He'd say, let me help you make it another inch. At camp, I told him he had to go and get help. That's when Charlie said, no, I'm not going out by myself. David then goes on to say, that was emotional. I wasn't too worried about him getting lost, but there might not be anybody at the trailhead. The next morning he was ready and he said, I guess I better get going. He gave me a big hug and left. When I got to that part of the story, I was just thinking of my own sons and having to leave me in such a bad state, like such a severely damaged state, and then just walk out by themselves. He's probably never solo hiked or anything, and once you get out there, even when things are going great, brain can kind of do weird things, and you can start, talking yourself in and out of things. Charlie, the young fellow, goes on to say, about 3 miles from camp, I ran into a couple of hikers who told me there was a big group behind them. I asked them to check on my dad, so I keep going. And at first I didn't see anyone else, so I blew my whistle. This guy ran up to me, and then we went to get a ranger. That's when I knew my dad was going to make it. How cool is that? So Dad's... So in November, he was in his final round of surgery, still recovering. But we did an all-day climb a couple of weeks ago. Isn't that cool?
That's scary, man.
I know. Just, I think it kind of demonstrates to me that he's done something right in raising his son. He's not prepared him for that, but he's just taken him outside so much that he's got him comfortable in that environment, so that Charlie didn't freak out. And do you understand what I mean? Like, he's exposed him to that type of environment so much that at least that in itself wasn't really scary.
Yeah, he could handle himself in that environment, but geez, he would have been freaking out. He did well emotionally.
Oh,
Jeez,
he did real well. I just like I said, that bit where he says he says goodbye and gave him a hug, I would have been a mess. I don't think I'd be able to to sort of keep the tears back or anything while I'm saying goodbye to my son.
No, stories like that freak me out. I mean, that takes me straight to Paul Pritchard on the totem pole and how he hurt himself that time.
Yeah, imagine if it was with a 13-year-old son, and his son has to witness that, number one, and then literally leave, because I think that instinctively you want to stay with the injured person, right? And you just want to stay there and make sure they're eating and they got water and they're comfortable, but that's not getting help, is it? That's just delaying hospital help. So good on them I think they did everything really well by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Just every step of the way they made a very smart decision, and really great to hear of such a good outcome for them.
Yeah, glad it went all right. Jeez.
Yeah, it's only a short article. Like, that was basically the whole article I just read to you then, but it's still a really interesting story. This one's... Oh, should I finish on that one? I only really got 2 to go. I got a few bonus ones, but just kind of up my this one here, man. I don't really want to waste too much time on this, but the title of this is... I'm not sounding sarcastic or laughing, because this guy's died and other people have. It's just so unbelievable. The title of this article is "Man Who Died in Yellowstone Fall Was Hunting for Treasure a Millionaire Says He Buried." And it turns out, like, there's video of this guy. He's got a really interesting name. Where is it? I'm sure people in the US would be familiar with this. Where's his name? He's got a real weird name. The millionaire. Forrest Fenn. So, Forrest Fenn said that he has quite literally a wooden like chest of gold and jewels, because he's an antiques dealer, and he supposedly they're worth $200, and he stashed them at an elevation above 5,000 feet, somewhere between Santa Fe and the Canadian border. He wrote a poem in his 2010 memoir, which offers clues on how to find the elusive bounty. Now, That's him there. There's a video of him saying that it's out there and, well, if someone finds it, they can have it.
Really?
But I don't know. When I watched the video, first thing I thought was, I don't even know if this guy's all there. Like, he speaks very well, but there's just something about, and like there's no evidence whatsoever that it actually exists. It even says here, perhaps it's a big joke. But it's drawn thousands of people to scour the hills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Over years and years and years. Well, obviously since I think 2010 when he released the clues.
Maybe some of our listeners have been out looking for it.
Maybe they have. I mean, maybe or even if they haven't specifically gone out to look for it, maybe they've been in the area hiking and thought, oh, what if we find that thing?
Cool.
So yeah, more recently, this guy, he died, and then in 2016, a guy died. 6 months later, a guy died. Which one was this? Last year, and then there was a 31-year-old that summer as well. So people are going up and down these mountains. Now, what it sounds like to me as well is that this is attracting people who might not be outdoors people. So just average people are thinking, there's treasure out there, I'm going to get into it. And they're not skilled hikers or climbers, or potentially they can't, pick
They're not coming
pick
back.
danger like somebody who's out there more often. And pretty crazy story, eh?
Yeah.
It's just a weird one. I thought it was a complete joke, and I read the article and watched the video. He claims his treasure chest contains 256 gold coins, ancient Chinese jade figurines, rubies, emeralds, diamonds, hundreds of gold nuggets, some as large as chicken eggs.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking, man. Like when you start listing that stuff out like that, it sounds more and more and more.
Or it's a really great way for him to become a famous immortal for doing it.
Yeah,
if it's real.
and busy in
However, must he not feel,
his antiques business.
Must he not feel a little guilty that people are dying?
He says in the video, I don't feel any guilt. Like, I told people it's out there, they can go get it. It's theirs if they find it for free, but I don't feel any guilt. And he also said one of his motives in hiding it.
He would feel guilty if it was fake. If it was just made up. Don't you think?
Well, I don't know if he's... who knows what state he's in. I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
Yeah, like you hope that in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, someone finds it and we all come back and say, well, yeah, you are directly responsible for people dying, but at the same time, you didn't outright lie. One of his motives in hiding it, as he told an ABC affiliate in 2015, was to get kids off the couch and away from the game machine.
To their death.
But the thing is, the kids aren't out there doing it. The people that are dying are 54-year-olds, and what was the other one? 31-year-old. I guess that's a young...
So he came out publicly and announced it, sort of like 2015. Is that when he said to have...
No, it was earlier than that. It was 2010.
2010 he's said to have...
Well, that's when his poem came out. It's just a strange one. I don't know. I wasn't even going to... That was one of my bonus ones.
Wow.
It's just...
I feel like we should have heard about this before. That's
crazy. Me too.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But he just says weird things like, if someone drowns in the swimming pool, we shouldn't drain the pool. We should teach people to swim.
Oh.
Interesting, eh?
Oh, that one's got it all, mate.
Yeah. That one's a real... That's like a movie, that.
Yeah.
That's just so weird.
Wow.
That's a weird one.
Some of these stories are definitely going to give me nightmares, man. I don't know why, but they're going to haunt me now. But thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's a crazy one, that one. Oh, there's a frog again. All right. Okay, let's go back to a feel-good one. All right. Meet Teresa Gergen, Queen of the 13ers. You know what a 13er is, don't you, Craig?
Oh, there's a number of mountains. Where are they? Which part of the world?
US, lower 48. Yeah, US. A 13er is a 13,000 foot or more peak, I believe. And
anywhere in the world.
well, no, it seems to be mostly a US thing.
There's these 13. Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah, because I think there's 14ers as well. I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's certainly not something I'm able to achieve, but go on.
Yeah, okay. So she became the first person, not the first woman, just to be clear, the first person to summit all 846 13ers in the lower 48 and Hawaii. She's 55, and on Labor Day weekend, as the article goes, when everyone else is drinking beers and having barbecues, she was clinging to a jagged granite face 13,553 feet above sea level, crossing the peak that would make her the first person in history to summit all 846 13ers.
Wow. That's
just
epic.
Think about how long it would take to just do 846 hikes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even if you were going every weekend, that's years and years, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But as she says in an article, her trips were between 2 to 10 days. In this particular case, I think she had to stay a night halfway up and then, come back down the next day. So there's a couple of days involved in this trip. But, yeah, some of them were as long as 10 days. And I just thought that's a heck of an achievement. That's a heck of an achievement for anybody of any age whatsoever.
Yeah, so brave.
And Teresa does it at age, what did I say, 55.
Oh, that's
I hope
great.
I'm climbing mountains when I'm 50. Actually, I don't hope I'm climbing mountains. I hope I'm walking up hiking trails.
Yeah.
I don't need to be hanging off granite
Yeah, that's extreme.
faces. Incredible.
But it's obviously what she loves, man. Then
Yeah.
she's nailed it.
That's
good.
Yeah, she definitely is into climbing. There's a really cool thing about the last peak that she climbs, because it's named after there's apparently a series of peaks called Palisade Crest, a series of 12 stone pinnacles named after characters in J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series. And the last one that she did was Gandalf Peak, which is that one she was just talking about then.
Awesome.
Good? Feel good?
Feel good.
Motivated? All right. I'm going to bring it on home. Pretty sure I'm bringing it on home with another. This is the last one, okay? Another Australian Geographic Society's Conservationist of the Year award. This article came out at the same time as the, Young Adventurer of the Year. Obviously, because we're nearing the end of the year, all these awards are getting dealt. This is an interesting one. A guy called Albert Wiggin won this award this year in 2019. Now, he's 38 years old, and he's a Badi Kija Nyal Nyal man, which is obviously the tribe that he's from. Indigenous man. And he's also a ranger from Dampier Peninsula in Western Australia. If you're looking at a map of Australia, look at the very, very top far left, and that's the crazy region where he hangs out. He won the award because he's been raising awareness about a region called the Kimberleys. You'd be familiar with that, Craig?
Yep, for sure.
And also his opposition to a gas project that was originally targeted for that area. And I watched one of his TED Talks, so afterwards I didn't realise he'd done that until I was listening to a radio segment in the article. And his father actually introduced a guy called Malcolm Douglas, who, Craig, you'll be familiar with. So he introduced this famous TV personality, would you call him? Kind of like his show was basically exploring the Australian outback and remote areas, and basically showing the beauty and the treasures and the fragility and all that stuff. Would you say that's a pretty good sum up? Yeah.
Adventure.
Great adventure, like cruising around in a four-wheel drive, and they'd run into, cool animals and stuff, not literally while they're in the four-wheel drive, just they would observe animals, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, in the late 60s, this guy's father introduced Malcolm Douglas to the region of the Kimberleys, taught him everything about it, and that started Malcolm Douglas to basically on a path of showing the rest of Australia what a beauty the Kimberleys are, and basically getting it put on the map. And then once you start to build an interest in a place, it's much more easy to protect its physical beauty. And there's something really interesting that Albert, the winner of this award, says in his TED Talk. Oh, sorry, not in the TED Talk, in the radio interview, when he was referring to his dad's relationship with Malcolm Douglas, he said that he understands that he has to find alternative ways to move into the future. And what he's talking about there is using different ways of communicating with Australia and the world, and using different mediums to communicate and get their messages across. And I thought that was a really good point, because I think that if you do want to communicate with the rest of Australia and the rest of the world, you do need to communicate with them on platforms that they're frequenting. And so I thought I think that's what makes him this bit of a visionary and everything for the Indigenous people, is the way that he's able to cross into that modern media, and the way that he's able to do things like these TED Talks. Now, I don't want to sound disrespectful with my next comment, but it's really interesting to hear him. He opens his TED Talk with in the Indigenous language. He thanks. He says it's tradition to, whenever you enter into another area, so another tribe's area, you thank them for allowing you to be there, and their ancestors and stuff like that. And he does that in the Aboriginal language, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. And then he, bang, just flawlessly switches into English, and you can tell that he's very well educated, really knows what he's talking about, and he's getting a message across, man. And I was I was listening. I thought it was cool, and I think that he was a worthy winner of that award, and I think he's on the right track to trying to, as he puts it, unite science with Aboriginal Indigenous culture to create a more sustainable environment for us long term, not necessarily just in Australia either, but something that he'd like to see replicated throughout the world, because they've been here for literally thousands and thousands of years.
All right. Yeah, so he's coming forward and getting out there,
Yeah.
really talking about some of their ways of respecting the land and the environment, which I'm sure we've got a lot to learn. Mate, we come up with news all the time on this show, but we don't necessarily talk about environmental issues. Not in this podcast, but I think we will at one point.
Yeah, sometimes we kind of touch on it. It's one of those things, and you actually alluded to it earlier in one of the first topics I brought up about that New South Wales area opened for, those cabin to cabin hikes. You actually said that it's hard to talk about it without knowing everything about it, and I think that's. You see, if I get the weight of Floyd the dog wrong, he's 86 kilogram Mastiff. If I said, it's something like an 80 kilogram Mastiff and his name's Frank, if I get that wrong, people aren't any worse off, you know what I mean? And people aren't going to try and slay us in comments or say that we've got something wrong and that we're miseducating people, because it's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
But once you start moving into that territory of environmental and political stuff, you really are moving into a territory where you probably don't just want to read one article out to listeners. You probably want to know what you're talking about. And it's so far from my knowledge base. It's not funny, and it's just good to know there's people out there bridging the gap between these cultures, and that's kind of what I picked up out of the story.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we got strong feelings about the environment, and I'm sure that it's a complex debate that you have to be very careful how you approach it, because everyone's everyone has a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
But for us, it would be an interesting topic to get into, some of the changes that we've seen in the environment and some of the political issues going around that at the moment. But obviously this award's given to someone who's stood up and making a bit of a difference and a bit of has a strong stance on it. So
yeah, he's also I'm not sure if his position was a director, but he did make a film about protecting that region.
Yeah, it's a special place.
And that again, he's engaged a medium which is rarely used, at least by. Well, it would seem that, I guess we're just so used to using it. I've worked in advertising agencies for years, and film, TV, radio, all that stuff is just, if you want to get your message across, you just jump straight to that. And it just seems second nature. But this stuff is more delicate, and I would say 100 times more important. So it's good to see them entering into that space and doing things like TED Talks and doing things like films. It's good stuff.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, he seemed like a top bloke as well. I'd love to hang out and go for a few hikes with him.
Yeah, cool.
All right. That's it. Longest news session in the world. I hope that you got something out of it, and you got plenty of stuff to go now and click through all my links in the show notes and read for yourself, or do watch little videos I've been talking about, extend your knowledge on anything you want to. Part of the reason we did this tonight was a lot of people write in as well and say, I love the news stuff, love the banter, love the interesting, weird things that you pick out. And so, yeah, I guess we just extended that tonight, and hopefully it gave you a few laughs or a few insights.
Yeah, mate, lots of little secrets there that you've been keeping from me, but I'm glad to be, shared.
Yeah, all the secrets are out now, mate, for the world.
And as I say, I think some of those are actually, going to stick with me. That'll be
in a good or a bad way. A little bit of both.
a little bit of both. Yeah, I'll be thinking about
this one.
frog. Yeah, and that poor 13-year-old kid, and
Yeah.
with his dad. And
That did slightly disturb me when I read it, but at the same time, I just thought it became such a positive story, and he'd just be so proud forever, his father, and that's what it's all about. He set his son up for that, so yeah, cool.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Thank you, everybody, for sitting through that. Do appreciate it. If all goes well, we'll be in good health, and Claire will be in good health in the coming weeks, and we'll be able to get that exclusive scoop on Claire's journey into the wilderness. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day or night, wherever you are or whatever you're doing. See ya.
See you guys.
If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about Hike or Die TV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by hikeordie.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.